started. Good afternoon, dearest friends. Today is, what is it, the 18th?
Yes.
18th, January 18th. It's a Tuesday, the 16th of Shvat. We're gathered here for our weekly discussion on the Bible. Long finished with the 5 books of Moses. We've also done the book of Joshua and Judges, and now we are studying the book of Samuel. So far, we have read of the rise of Samuel, the fall of the house of Eli, and the tragic military loss that we read of last week, where the high priest and his 2 sons both tragically die in the same day, and the daughter-in-law, and the rise of Samuel. But we're not up to that really. We first spoke of the devastating loss of the ark, which was brought into battle, and how every Palestinian coastal town that would host the ark would suffer mysterious and somewhat very uncomfortable and somewhat shocking consequences, to the point where they all just want to get rid of the ark. And now we'll take a look at what happens next. Except I think I'm sharing the wrong screen. Here, let's stop the share and then resume the share. Here we go. All right. And so, as we read last week, oh, they just bounced me. So we're Book of Samuel, chapter 6. We read about how the ark seems to have caused the idol, the statue Dagon, which was the Palestinian statue. And we read about how it brought hemorrhoids and all other kinds of terrible effects. There alone is a little spot on
afflictions
that we shouldn't know of. We shouldn't know of them.
No.
But that's what we read about. Oh, someone, if you want, I'll move over right over here. This. Okay. All right. And so the ark of the Lord remains in the territory of the Philistines 7 months. You may recall last week we took a peek at the map and we showed how the coastal area just south of Tel Aviv and Ashdod, Ashkelon, Aza, that was then a region of the Philistines, not to be confused at all with the Palestinians, of course. The Philistines were a seafaring Phoenician or Greek-related group who are long extinct, but that's the story. And so the ark remains in the Philistine territory 7 months. Then the Philistines start getting a little nervous. Well, no, each town that hosted it is nervous, but now collectively, there's a very strong sense of uneasiness and a desire to figure out what's going on. So the Philistines summoned priests, diviners, folks of the spirit, and asked, what shall we do with the ark of the Lord? Tell us what we shall send it off to its own place. We got to get rid of this. It's cursed. And so the priests and the people of the spirit said, you send the ark of the God of Israel away, you can't just send it away without anything. You're going to have to also pay a, not a fine, but some kind of gift. You can't just return what you stole. You need to give some compensation. Then you will be healed and he'll make himself known to you. Otherwise, his hand will not turn away from you. So they're saying it's not enough to return it, but you need to also give additional gifts to God, to the Hebrews. So they said, okay, Lynn, get ready.
Preparation H.
Get ready. They said, what is the indemnity that we should pay for him?
Why?
And here's what they answered. I didn't make this up. 5 golden hemorrhoids, 5 golden mice, corresponding to the number of the lords of the Philistines, for the same plague struck all of you and your lords.
How do you get golden hemorrhoids? That's crazy.
Well, they're supposed to make lumps of gold fashioned somewhat. It was basically meant to be a golden gift, a tribute.
Oh, nice.
It's a golden suppository.
Something like that. Again, I didn't make it up. I'm just reading you what it says.
But what is the word for the gift that they're giving? 5 golden what?
Hemorrhoids.
Well, they had great maladies of the GI tract, including hemorrhoids.
Right.
That is the tail. And so they were
But where
Yes.
did mice come in? Why golden mice?
Apparently, there were also outbreaks of mice alongside these maladies, these afflictions.
Mhm,
And so they were being overrun by internal and external tsuris.
mhm.
And so they need to give back five golden gifts corresponding to each of the 5 towns that were ravaged. You shall make figures of hemorrhoids and of mice that are ravaging your land. Thus you shall honor the God of Israel, and perhaps he'll lighten the weight of his hand upon you and your gods and on your land.
Well, gold was it really gold? Because that's a value, gold.
They were supposed to give something of great value. This is to
Well,
be a reparation of sorts,
Yeah,
although they are enemies. But I guess either they felt that sometimes you need to humble yourself to make things right. Alternatively, they may have drawn a distinction between the temple and the military, branch of the Jewish people. Excuse
yeah,
me.
but don't you think, Rabbi, this is a bit bizarre what they're giving? Do you think this sounds normal?
It is bizarre, but they are trying to contribute something that reflects their misfortune in a
Oh.
hope that they'll get rid of their misfortune. So they're kind of symbolically saying, we're going to give God gold in the image of our affliction, and maybe God will take our affliction away as he accepts our gifts. So this was a superstitious but symbolic way of them trying to pass
Okay.
off or be rid of their tsuris.
Mhm.
And so you shall make these images, and hopefully he'll lighten, excuse me. He'll lighten your affliction. Now I just want to take a peek at one thing. Who did they summon? It says they summoned their priests and magicians. Who were these? Were these Jewish priests or pagan priests? So
Oh, I don't know.
the simple reading is clear that we're talking about pagan priests,
Pagan, yeah.
but from the nuance and the sensitivity and the respect of their explanation, it makes me wonder if perhaps they were Jewish or sympathetic. It seems like they may have been Jewish priests.
But if they
Were
were
summoned.
Jewish, why would they want hemorrhoids and all that other mites?
No, these are gold. You melt it down and it's high value.
Well, I know, but
Listen, yeah, a pawn shop will take all types of gold stuff,
that's true.
and then they'll do what they need to do with it.
But I can't believe that if they were Jewish priests, that they would ask for the gold in that form, in those
Well, maybe,
two forms.
yeah, I don't know exactly. It's interesting.
I know.
There's a Yiddish saying, you're not allowed to ask a kasha afa maisa. You can't ask a question on how a story unfolds. It's what they
All
said.
right. I won't ask.
No, I don't mean you can't ask. I'm saying ultimately the story is as it was, and why they did it
Okay.
is interesting.
We have to accept it. Okay.
So anyways, they reached out to people of the spirit and they said you have to return the ark, but you also have to pay reparations. And
Alright.
maybe if you design them in the form of your affliction, maybe God will receive your gifts and symbolically you'll be removing the affliction from upon you. And this is why I asked the question, don't harden your hearts as the Egyptians and Pharaoh hardened theirs, as you know, when he made a mockery of them, they had to let Israel go and they departed. Ultimately, when you mess with the Jews, if God is determined that something should happen, he'll make it happen and there'll be a high, steep cost to pay. So basically, the priests tell the Philistines, do yourself a favor, get ahead of the issue, let the ark go before God finds ways to further to afflict you.
Mhm,
That was the message, and they took this message to heart.
mhm.
And so they therefore said as follows, go get a new cart ready with 2 cows who have never borne a yoke, harness the cows to the cart, and take back indoors the calves that follow them. So take nursing cows, attach a harness to the cart, hold back the calves from following them. Take the ark of the Lord, place it on the cart, put it next to the chest of the golden objects you are sending as an atonement, send it off, and let it go on its way. So they were doing a little bit of a trick. They sent a wagon borne by oxen, or actually not oxen, cows, without a driver.
Without a driver. Oh, yeah.
Without a driver. Now watch. If it goes up the road to Beth Shemesh, to his own territory, it was he who has inflicted this great harm on us. If the oxen travel to the temple, to the Jewish people, we'll know that it was God. And if not, we'll know that it was not his hand that struck us. It happened by chance. So although they're strongly suspicious that the maladies are a result of stealing God's ark
Oh.
from the Jewish temple, they're not 1,000,000% sure. And so they make a test.
Mhm.
They're doing a test. If it returns to the Jews, they'll know that Hashem is defending their right and honor of the temple. And
Mhm.
if the cows just walk in circles or go somewhere else, well, then you'll know that it's just a random plague breaking out. And so the Philistines did so. The men did so. They took 2 nursing cows, harnessed them. Now, apparently, milch cows. Are you familiar with this word?
Milch, is that milk cows? Milk?
I assume so. Here, a milch cow is a cow kept for milking, a dairy
Milk.
cow.
Okay, yeah.
So now we know. I learned something new.
Mhm.
A milk producing cow. Excuse me. All right, let's see who.
Rabbi, you look exhausted.
Yeah, what
I'm a
happened
little-
last night? You had
I'm
lots to
a-
do?
I'm a little tired, but you know what's funny? The screen triggers it too. So, but
Yeah, sorry.
Well, can I just,
Was everybody disconnected?
no, I
No,
think
we're not
only you fell off. But we're happy that you're back on.
I just wondered. I was waiting for your answer about the cart, the cart without a driver, which way it will go. That's why
Oh.
when I was cut off.
Okay, so they were doing a test. They wanted to see if their afflictions were actually because of their mistreating the ark of the Lord, of the Jewish gods, or was it just random? And so they're sending a driverless wagon pulled by cows, and they were going to see where it goes. If it heads towards the temple, well, then it was because of the ark. And if not, they'll know that it was something else, and they can reclaim, I imagine, the ark and the gold that they're about to send off to the Jewish people. And so they did. They placed the ark of the Lord on the cart with the chest, with the golden stuff. And you'll never guess, the cows headed straight along the road to Bet Shemesh. They went along a single highway, lowing as they went, turning off neither to the right to the left. The lords of the Philistines walked behind them as far as the border of Beth Shemesh. Now, bear with me a moment. Let's pull up the map again, Google Maps. Let's do this. You know, today Beth Shemesh is a very popular
Yeah, sure.
region in Israel where many Americans move to. But just so we can appreciate this, we're looking right now at a map of Israel. I just put on the satellite view, which I don't know if it actually helps us or not.
Let's see what Beth Shemesh says.
we can't see it now.
Well, what is it? What is Beth Shemesh near?
Is this better?
We
All
saw it
right.
before. We saw the name before, but now I don't see it.
All right, is this
Oh,
better?
Beth, I see near, it's a near Ramallah? No,
Hold on, I'm sorry. Hold on one second. Terrain.
no, that's,
The first one that you showed us
Bethel, no,
showed
that's
the
Beth
name.
Here we go.
Shemesh. I've heard it.
All right, now let's take a look.
Oh, here it is. I see it now. Yeah.
Okay, so what we're looking here is the coast. Here's the Mediterranean Sea. Here's Gaza, Ashkelon, Ashdod.
Oh, it's over there.
These are the coastal towns, which were then Philistine towns.
Right.
They let the cows walk wherever they want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And they took a beeline straight to Bet Shemesh.
Mm-hmm.
Beit Shemesh was the Jewish region. I actually suspect that at this time in history, Beit Shemesh must have been a border between the Jews and the Philistines. And not far from Beit Shemesh is Shiloh. Let's find Shiloh.
Mm-hmm. That's
Hold
where
on,
the
Bill.
ark goes, right?
That's where the ark had been. Let's
I wonder-
find.
I think they were Jewish cows.
It must have been.
They were returning to
They
their
were
home.
going. Now I'm just looking for Beit Shemesh,
I'm looking for Beit Shemesh too.
Jerusalem.
No,
It's not
it was
Beit Shemesh.
back the other
I'm
way.
sorry, Shiloh. Shiloh. Where is Shiloh? It's going to be somewhere right where we are.
Oh, I just saw Beit Shemesh disappeared.
Yeah, so
Beit
here's Beit
Shemesh.
Shemesh. Hold on.
That's
Not
Bet
sure, not
Jamal.
Okay, this I believe is. Let's zoom
We
out again.
found Shiloh before. We found it.
Yes. And now I am. Here,
I
let's
don't
zoom out
see
a little
it.
more. Here, this is Bet Shemesh over here.
Yeah.
Here is Jerusalem. Here's Bethlehem. Shiloh should be somewhere over here, but I'm just not finding the actual Shiloh or Shiloh. Let's see if we can find it. I'm just gonna have to
Is
search
it
on top.
higher up? Is it higher?
It may be. See, I still need oh, here.
Here it is, right here.
Yeah, I found it. Now I'm just zooming out. Oh, you see it was north. All right, so Shiloh's to the north.
Higher up. Yeah.
So here we have it.
Yeah.
This is
Mm-hmm.
Shiloh's up here.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
Jerusalem's
never-
down here.
So it
Bet
is
Shemesh
near.
is here.
Oh, yeah.
So
Right.
what we have over here, this is like the Jewish part.
Mm-hmm.
And no, that's not what I'm sorry. Oh. Well, anyways, okay, now we know Shiloh's to the north.
Yeah.
Shiloh is between. So, anyways, bottom line is the wagons took the cows to make a beeline straight to the Jewish area.
Yeah.
A strong indication that what's happening here is clearly a Jewish issue, or as a result of the treatment of the Jews. And the lords of the Philistines walked behind as far as the border of Beit Shemesh. Beit Shemesh, of course, is a Jewish area, and the Philistine elders have to stop where they are. The people of Beit Shemesh were doing their job, working the fields, in the wheat harvest, in the valley. They look up, and can you imagine the joy they felt when they see their ark being returned to them? All the shame, the horror of losing the ark was replaced with utter joy when they saw it.
Yep.
The cart came into the field of Joshua,
Mm-hmm.
the day Yehoshua, and it stopped there. So what do you think the Jews did? They split up the wood of the cart. They presented the cow as a burnt offering to the Lord. They made an offering. They took these cows, they sacrificed them. The wood was used as for the offering. And the Levites took the ark of the Lord and the chest beside it containing the gold items and placed them on the large stone. And then the men of Beit Shemesh presented the burnt offerings and other sacrifices to the Lord that day. So the Jewish people are feeling grateful to God and grateful for their good fortune that it was returned. The 5 lords of the Philistines saw this and returned the same day to Ekron.
Mm-hmm.
Where is Ekron? Is it on the map here?
I
don't know.
Let's see.
I don't know if it's a modern day. Let's Google it too. I don't know if it's a modern day city. Kiryat Ekron. Let's take a look. So notice this.
There it is.
Ekron, here is ancient Ekron. You learn something new every day. And it's not all that far from
Right.
Bet Shemesh. And so we get again a picture of how close in the
Mhm.
close proximity they lived.
Yeah.
Let's see what Wikipedia has to say. History. Okay, this is it was named after biblical Ekron, but it wasn't necessarily in the precise location of Ekron. Now we need to search for this. Tel Mikne. So okay, it's even closer to Beit Shemesh.
Mm-hmm.
All righty, let's continue. So there we have it. The elders return on that same day. The following, now we break down the gifts, why they were given. There were 5 golden nuggets representing 5 hemorrhoids that the Philistines paid to atone with the Lord. One for Ashdod, one for Gaza, one for Ashkelon, one for Gath, one for Ekron. 5 towns: Ashdod, Gaza, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron. As for the golden mice, their number accorded with all the Philistine towns that belonged to the 5 lords, both fortified towns, unwalled villages, as far as the great stone on which the ark of the Lord was set down to this day in the field of Joshua and Bet Shemesh. And so guess what? There's a new Jewish temple that's going up right where the ark arrives. So the ark doesn't go back to Shiloh. It stays in Beit Shemesh in this town for the next while.
Mm-hmm.
But then the Lord struck at the men of Bet Shemesh because they looked into the ark of the Lord. There was a plague that breaks out because they weren't honoring the ark sufficiently. And 70 men among the people, and the people mourned, for he inflicted a great slaughter. So there was a terrible plague.
So they weren't supposed to look inside of the ark. Was that it?
I don't know if it really means looking at it
Inside
or
of it?
treating. I don't think that's what it means. I think they treated it casually. Great people, 70 great people were killed because they didn't treat it with the appropriate, necessary respect.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking in the commentaries to see if we have any more comments. Some say that they were just kept on working without giving attention to the ark or even turning their back on the ark. Suffice it to say, they didn't sufficiently honor it. And so the men of Beth Shemesh now ask, who can stand in the attendance of the Lord, this holy God, and to whom shall he go up from us? If we can't handle this, who is going to host the ark? And so ironically, the Jewish people who are not treating the ark properly are experiencing a similar problem to the Philistines. And they sent a message to the inhabitants of Kiryat Jearim. And they said, hey, the Philistines gave us the ark. Come and take it, please.
Well,
And
Rabbi, death
yes,
was worse than intestinal problems.
of course. Except the dead don't have much agency, and the people that are suffering are. But anyways, you're right.
But punishment, it seems like the Jews were punished more harshly than the Philistines.
Can you think of a theory why that might be?
No.
The Jews should have known better.
Their obligation was greater.
The Jews should have known
That's
better.
true.
It's their ark.
They should have known better. Okay, well.
Here's what I'll say. They kept it to themselves. The Jewish people, as a broad society, were in mourning over the loss of the ark. The people of Beit Shemesh should have right away sent out a message to everyone. Let's rejoice. Let's bring the ark back. But they don't. And so now the people of Kiryat Yearim are going to become the hosts. This is chapter 7, excuse me. And let's see what happens.
Well, wait 1 second. Is this in the same location or in a different location now that you're talking about?
New location.
Okay.
Well, let's take a look where that is.
Mm-hmm.
So what did we say? It was Kiryat Yarim,
Hiram something or other.
and before that it was Tel Bet Shemesh.
It was Beth, yeah.
Oh, there is Beth Shemesh, so let's see what it's near, actually. Karat Beth Shemesh. Whoops.
Here we go.
That's when I find it, I lose it again.
It was
Oh, no,
it was the distance of 20 kilometers. You
Uh-huh.
could walk it, it'll take you 4 or 5 hours. But
So they carried the ark
They-
there? Or is that what they did, or,
so they transport the ark to the next town.
right? Mhm.
Mela Hamesh. Oh, it's near Jerusalem.
It's very close. The men of Bet Shemesh asked the question. I'm sorry. Here we go. So now the new hosts come and collect it.
Mhm.
And they're going to take care of it nice. They took the ark of the Lord. They brought it up to the house of Abinadab on the hill. They consecrated his son Eleazar to be in charge of the ark. They gave it a house. They gave it an attendant. And so they're showing a whole lot more respect than the folks of Bet Shemesh who kept it in the field. And they were just working around it. And a long time elapsed from the day that the ark was housed in Kiryat Yarim. 20 years in all. And all the house of Israel yearned after the Lord. What does it mean they yearned? They were following the Lord. Samuel, meanwhile, is encouraging the Jewish people to grow in their service tradition. But they also wanted the ark back in the temple. And so now we're introduced to Samuel. Until now, if you notice the whole story, Samuel has been silent.
Right.
Now we're going to meet Samuel. So Samuel says to all of Israel, if you really mean to return to the Lord, if you're going to do teshuvah, you're going to return to God with all your hearts.
Mhm.
Well, you're going to have to remove foreign gods and Ashtaroth, other idolatrous technology from your midst, and direct your heart to the Lord and serve him alone. Then he'll deliver you from the hands of the Philistines. And the Israelites listened. They removed the Baalim and the Ashtaroth. They removed these idols. And they served God alone. And Shmuel then tells them, okay, it's time to gather in prayer, in devotion, and then battle. Assemble all of Israel, and I will pray to the Lord for you. And so now we're going to look up a place called Mitzpah. Mitzpah No, that's not the Mitzpah. All right. So they assembled at Mitzpah, they drew water, they poured it out before the Lord, which I guess was a way of showing devotion. It's a symbol of humility. They fasted that day, they confessed their sins against the Lord, and Samuel acted as their judge, their chieftain of the Israelites at Mitzpah. And so this is an important unifying moment where the Jews gathered together, acknowledging that Samuel is their leader.
Mhm.
He also assisted them. Part of unity is resolving interpersonal issues. And so Samuel helped judge, resolve, and mediate different interpersonal issues that had risen among the people, helping them become more unified. This is good news for the Jews, bad news for the Philistines. Because the last thing Israel's enemies want is a unified Jewish nation. And the Jewish people need, although it's hard to figure out, to be unified. I guess now would be a good time to say that I think all of the Jewish people felt unified this Shabbat and Saturday night with the news out of Texas, and we all felt a collective relief
Right.
when it ended in the best way I guess it could have.
That's right.
And so we need moments. We don't want sorrows. We don't want sad things, but we need things, and we need to find ways to unify ourselves. Now, the Philistines hear that the Israelites are assembled at Mitzpah. The Philistines hear The Israelites are assembled, and now the lords of the Philistines march against God. Against Israel. Hearing this, the Israelites are terrified. And they say, Samuel, please don't neglect us. Help us pray. Help us secure God's support. Don't neglect us. Do not refrain from crying out to the Lord our God. Save us from the Philistines. So Samuel then takes a lamb, sacrifices it as a burnt offering to the Lord. Samuel cries out to the Lord in response of the Jewish people, and he gets a response. Remember, Samuel is a prophet.
Mhm.
And as Samuel was presenting the burnt offering, and the Philistines were advancing to attack Israel, the Lord thundered mightily against the Philistines that day. He threw them into confusion, and they were routed by Israel. So Samuel prays, his prayers are answered. The Jews they live to fight another day. And when
Mhm.
this happens, the men of Israel head out of the Mitzpah, out of this fortress. They pursue the Philistines and striking them down at the place called Beth Kar. And Samuel took a stone, set it up between Mitzpah and Shen, which is another place. He calls it Eben Ezer. And he says this is a testament that God has answered and helped the Jewish people, for the Lord has helped us. And now the Philistines were humbled. They do not invade Israel again. The hand of the Lord was set against the Philistines as long as Samuel lived. And so this is a very important moment in
Mhm.
Samuel's career. There's a vacuum. There's tsuris. This is within a year, right, of the death of Eli and his two sons. And now, or actually, it's possible that there's a 20-year gap, but this is in relative proximity to the victory, to the loss of the ark, and now it's been restored. The people gather, they pray. Samuel rallies them in battle, prays for their victory, and people know that they have a leader, they have someone that cares, and they have someone that can give them spiritual guidance and intercede on their behalf to God. This is a golden age for the Jewish people, and a time when good things can begin to happen. The towns which the Philistines had taken from Israel, from Ekron to Gath, were restored to Israel. So the Jewish people expand their territory, retaking towns that were lost in previous battles.
Mhm.
Israel recovered all her territory from the Philistines, and there was also peace between Israel and her neighbors to the east, the Amorites.
Mhm.
Samuel judged the people as long as he lived. Every year, he would make the rounds to the important cities of Bethel, Gilgal, Mitzpah, all towns that we've heard about in the past few books. These are all towns, how do I undo this? That are in this broader region.
Mhm.
Gilgal towards the coast, Mitzpah. These are all the center of Israel, to judge the people. Then he would return to Ramah, for his home was there, and there too he would judge Israel, and he built an altar in Ramah. We're going to stop around here, but I want to see if we can look up Ramah. No, that's not Ramah. Is it? No. Let's see something. All right. Bear with me.
Did you
That's
find Ramah?
I didn't find Ramah, but I found Samuel's tomb, which I believe is not far from there. So I believe, I may be incorrect. And we're going to have to get to the end of Samuel to find out exactly where he's buried. But it's all in the broader Jerusalem, Beth Shemesh, Hebron
Mhm.
Shechem area. It's
Mm.
the center of Israel. So this really is the story. The story is all the years that were uneventful. Let's think about it. When you write a person's biography, the average person, or even a very accomplished person, the bulk of their life is boring. They worked hard and they succeeded and people like them. That's not a very dramatic story. It's the journey up the ladder that has a lot of intrigue. It's the failures that are interesting, right? And it's the legacy that's interesting. And so this chapter, chapter 7, short in verses, represents the bulk of Samuel's life, his rise to power. He protects the Jewish people. He leads them spiritually. And for the most part, it was peaceful. That's the bulk of the story. Towards the end of his life, there's plenty of drama, and that's what we're going to read about, I think, next week. Well, we'll start now, but the bulk of it will be next week. It's Samuel. And what we read about in the next coming week or two is really Samuel's big legacy. It's the installment of King Saul, then King David, and the drama that's involved in that unfortunate, frictious dynamic. So I just wanted to, so again, we read today already chapter 6, chapter 7. We read of the return of the ark with its golden gifts, how the ark is initially mistreated, and then eventually it finds an honorable place, and then how Samuel leads the Jewish people spiritually and militarily against the Philistines. When Samuel grows old, he appoints his sons to judge over Israel. Does this sound familiar? Who was Samuel's mentor? Anyone remember Samuel's mentor, his teacher? Eli, the high priest.
Eli, he's the one that died, right? And the
And what
sons.
and what did Eli do? Who did he appoint to be his deputies, his sons? And did it work out? It
Right.
didn't really work out. And that's where Samuel steps into the vacuum. Well, tragically, history repeats itself a bit.
Right.
He names his first son Joel, and his second son Aviah, and they sat as judges in Beersheba, which is interesting. It's way towards the south.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not way to the south, but it's to the south.
Here.
Yeah, down here.
Mm-hmm.
His sons did not follow in his ways. They were bent on gain. They accepted bribes. They subverted justice. And all the elders of Israel assemble to Samuel and say, "You've grown old and your sons are not good successors. Appoint us a king to lead us like all the other nations." And what happens after that is the rest of the story of Samuel. But the point is, the Israelites realize that if there's going to be a succession, if Israel's going to continue to be centralized, organized, spiritually and militarily, something has to change. It needs to be a monarchy. And it is at this moment that we are introduced at last to the Jewish monarchy, which becomes the hallmark of the story of the Jewish people for the next many hundreds of years. But for that story, we need a full hour. And I believe we should embark on that journey next week. Please, God. Actually, well, next time, I need to keep you posted. There's a small chance that I will cancel next week because it's my kids have off and I probably have to take them on a small vacation. So there's a small chance that I will be off next week. I will post, please, God, on the group. Hopefully Sunday or Monday, I'll let you know if we have a class or not.
Okay.
And so I want to wish everyone a wonderful week, and I look forward to our next session where we'll talk about the Jewish monarchy.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Stay healthy, safe, and well, and thank you all for keeping me company and
Thank
giving
you.
us
Get some
perspective here.
rest.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rabbi.
Bye, everybody.
care.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.